Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Tales from the Fandom. Today, June 6th of 2020, is the 4-year anniversary of this podcast, and I have brought back my first guest, along with a number of episodes later. She has been a guest on this podcast, whether it has been talking about Ghostbusters, or Leverage, or talking about the Iron Druid Chronicles. I have Jachelle back to join me to celebrate 4 years of Tales from the Fandom. Welcome back, Jachelle.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on 4 years. That's amazing.
It is totally mind bonkaroos that not only has it been going for 4 years, but that I can keep going and still put out episodes, and it's thanks to everybody that I've had on as guests. But you know, you knew and we were talking about the podcast of me getting into doing something.
We were
bouncing ideas off, and so, you know, I'm glad to have you back to talk about, you know, new stuff and you know, where fandom has gone in the past 4 years.
It's gone a lot of places, man. We're gonna have a whole lot of stuff in front of us.
Oh yeah, and in fact, one of the things that we're going to talk about is a older fandom that's making its return, and I'm really excited to see how they're going to do it and what they're going to how they're going to do it and what they're going to do with their cast of characters. But we'll talk about that shortly.
Yes,
you have started binge watching a TV series that I got into when I was in middle school, and that is Star Trek, specifically The Next Generation.
Yes. So I didn't really embrace my nerdy side until I was in my teens. Growing up, I was always pretty geeky. Like, I loved books in the library and all that stuff. But like, I didn't get into like nerd culture until I was a little bit older, just because I didn't have a lot of exposure to it in my house growing up. So I missed out on a lot of like the older fandoms like Star Trek. And one of the reasons I was always apprehensive about jumping into it as I got older is because I'm somewhat of a completionist, and there's so much Star Wars, there's so much Star Trek that it was really overwhelming. And I was like, this is going to take me forever to get through. And like, you know, also streaming wasn't a thing yet, so it was really difficult to get a hold of things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did, even though so many of my best friends were obsessed with Star Trek. And so I always had a feeling it was something that I would like. And then back in the day, when Netflix first started streaming, this was like just after they'd made the jump to streaming, they added the original series. And I started watching that, and I was like, I mean, I kind of get into this. It's definitely over the top. But I never gravitated towards it too much. So now we're stuck in quarantine. I've got a lot of time on my hands. And I keep seeing these commercials for the CBS streaming app, and they keep advertising, hey, we have every season of Star Trek. So I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm stuck inside. I need something to distract me. I'm signing up for this app, and I'm just going to watch all the Star Trek.
All the Star Trek.
All the Star Trek. I did skip the original series because I'd watched it previously. So we are starting with The Next Generation. My husband and I have been watching it together. And it's funny because I had so many people that are like, just give it a little time. Next Generation is a little rough in the beginning, but like it gets so much better. And like from episode 1, I was like, what are you guys talking about? This is amazing. I'm in love with this show.
From episode 1.
From like episode 1, I was hooked. It is like, honestly, it's exactly what I need at this point in my life with everything that's going on in the world. Like, things are insane and scary and uncertain. And I just find a lot of comfort in the sort of campiness of the show. And it's still like, despite the bad special effects and some of the over the top storylines, like they're just, I don't know, there's something about it that's really comforting and nice, and just it makes me happy to watch. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, that's good. I know that there are certain TV series where you're like, you know what, you got to watch the first season, but the first season is just it's a struggle to get through, and I feel like
Sure.
Next Generation has that moniker of that first season is really at times difficult to get through. Like they're finding their way. I remember reading an interview with Patrick Stewart where he's like, yeah, I lived in my suitcase for an entire year while filming the show, like because he thought he was going to get canceled after the first year. He'd move back to England and go back to start doing whatever he was doing back then. But yeah, it's like you have to watch the first season to kind of get grounded with all the characters that you've got and their storylines, and it just continues on. But I'm happy you got into Star Trek. Yay!
Yeah. I can totally see why it wouldn't work, or why the first season in particular would be pretty rough for a lot of people. But I'm also the type of individual that watches Hallmark movies. So
do I.
like cheesy, campy stuff doesn't really turn me off of things. Like I said, I find it comforting. So I enjoyed it right from the start. And if I'm already enjoying it in season 1, I can only imagine how much more I'm gonna love it as the seasons go on. I'm about maybe a third of the way through season 2 currently. So definitely a ways to go still, but it's been my happy place lately. I am in love with Data. He is my favorite character, and I will protect him at all costs. I love him so much.
Now, I do want to say for people that are listening, we're recording this at the end of April, so I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, you'll have gotten further into Star Trek and hopefully things, crossing fingers, with the stuff going on in the outside world. I don't know if I want to say settle down, but just relax a little bit.
Yeah. Things are still pretty tense right now. So hopefully by the time people are hearing this, it's a little more mellow.
Now, what is it about Data that you find yourself, drawn to his character?
Because he loves humans so much, and I can't fault him for that, because as much as I like to pretend that I'm callous and jaded and that I hate everyone and that humans are garbage, like that's not true. I am just a big Hufflepuff, and I love people, and I love humans, and I love when people love that kind of stuff. His fascination with the human world and trying to learn and assimilate into their culture is really endearing to me.
Data is definitely one of those characters where I remember when I was watching, I was like, yeah, Data's cool. I'm trying to think back to when I was actually watching it and to figure out if like there was a character I was really drawn to, because that was like teenage me.
Yeah.
So like I think Data was probably like one of those characters. I liked Wesley enough to like be like, okay, I think, and Geordi, because I grew up with LeVar Burton on Reading Rainbow, and I was like,
of course,
that guy.
I grew up addicted to Reading Rainbow, and I listened to LeVar Burton's podcast. Like I've always been a huge fan of his work. So I do definitely love Geordi. He's very sassy, which I appreciate. And yeah, the one that did surprise, well, there were 2 surprises. One was actually Picard. I have an attachment to Patrick Stewart just from his like media persona. He's just a wonderful human being, and I love him. And so then I start the show, and I just I'm expecting to love Picard right off the bat. I did not. I was a little jilted. Like I was like, what? This is not what I was expecting this character to be like. And I still like the character a lot, but he was not what I was expecting. I was expecting warm, jovial like Patrick Stewart, and he is not that way.
No, he is
So
not.
it threw me for the largest of loops, and I have since had to course correct, and now I'm good, and I know what to expect from Picard, and everything's fine. But that one threw me. I'm not gonna lie. And the other one was Wesley, because even though never watched Star Trek previously, as I mentioned, a lot of my really good friends watch Star Trek, and I spend a lot of time on the internet, and obviously Star Trek discussion is going to filter through me from time to time. And the one thing I'd always heard was that Wesley was the worst. Everyone just wants Wesley to shut up and go away. So I start the show and I'm expecting Wesley to be this awful person. And he's just like this really adorable, smart kid. And I don't understand why everyone hates him. Like even my husband, like, gets, when we're watching, he gets super frustrated and like huffs and like says mean things under his breath about Wesley. And I'm like, what? Why? What is it that you don't like about him? And he can never actually answer. So I don't know that he has a reason. He just doesn't like him on principle, which is something my husband would totally do. But yeah, so I really like Wesley. I think, like, yeah, he's a kid. And while he is super smart, he's still naive in a lot of ways. So yeah, he's going to make mistakes and get into trouble. And that might make people think he's really annoying and shouldn't be around. But I disagree. I think he's lovely. And I am excited to watch his character grow throughout the seasons.
Yes, indeed. Shut up, Wesley. That's what.
Yeah.
That's what people say. Shut up, Wesley.
Yeah. Well, and it's I'll tie this back to one of the fandoms that I believe we talked about in the first episode, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which has been one of my oldest fandoms. Everyone hates Dawn. I love Dawn. I think Dawn's great. So maybe I just gravitate towards characters that everybody else hates.
Maybe. I don't know. But you like Data, so that
I do.
You got that going for you, and Data sticks around, and he's
Data,
cool.
Geordi, yeah, I definitely. Riker, I have a love-hate relationship with Riker. He comes off as so skeezy sometimes. Like, I don't know if they were trying to go for like a Kirk ladies man vibe with him, but like sometimes the way he looks at females in the show or some of the things he says, I'm just like, dude, you're gross. Which it's hard for me to say because I like Jonathan Frakes. He is, heavily involved in Leverage, which is like my favorite show of all time. But yeah, he comes off a little bit creepy.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been ages since I've actually sat down to watch Star Trek. I have tried so hard to get the kids to watch Star Trek with me, and they refuse.
They won't do it.
They won't do it. I cannot have it on. Does Riker in season 2, where you are, does he have his beard yet?
Yes, he had his beard from the premiere of season 2. Like, as soon as season 2 started, he had the beard. And it's funny. So we were watching season 1, and something like intense was happening, and like the crew was trying to fix things, and Riker just said something really stupidly obvious, and I was just like, come on, man. And my husband looks over and he's like, no, just like, the problem is that all of Riker's intelligence is in his beard, and he doesn't have that yet, so just wait. It's like, okay. Apparently Riker's beard is just its own character.
I gotta go with that. Like, that's a plausible theory right there. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you are digging Star Trek: The Next Generation so far.
Yeah. Yes, I'm very much enjoying it. It is our new Sunday ritual because it's the first day that my husband and I have off together. So we order IHOP because we can't go out right now. So we order IHOP and have it delivered, and we eat pancakes and we watch Star Trek for like 6 hours.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time right there.
It is honestly, it's my favorite thing right now. Like I love just binge watching it. Like there's some shows that are difficult to binge watch, like when you're stressed out. Like previously we were watching Battlestar Galactica, and that's not a good show to binge watch right now because it's real depressing.
Yeah, there are definitely shows. I mean, Michelle and I just finished watching The Boys, which was
Which
a
is,
heavy
yeah,
series.
that's super heavy. Yeah. That one yeah, we watched that one as it was airing, so we could only watch one episode a week. We couldn't binge watch that one. But yeah, that one is super heavy. Like even week to week, sometimes I was like, this show is a lot.
Now, before we switch off of Star Trek, one
Yes.
of the things that I've been finding going back to whether it's like The Office or whether it's like some of the older shows from like the same time period, late 90s, early 2000s,
Mhm.
is that I've been finding some of the episodes of the variety of shows cringy. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing that storyline, or I can't believe they're doing this. Have you found that with Star Trek?
Um, there's one in particular that I mentioned to you previously just through text or Discord or something. But I don't know if that's necessarily like if anybody else watching it right now would be cringy or if this is just a me thing. Um, there's an episode where uh, Troy gets pregnant without her consent. And like that's really upsetting to me to watch as a woman. And unfortunately it happens in sci-fi shows a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this storyline play out in many a sci-fi show where some woman on the show gets mysteriously pregnant out of nowhere. And like I can kind of understand it from like a sci-fi horror, like, ooh, it's really scary and unknown, but like it's also just like really not great. Like this woman is being impregnated against her will, and that's usually never addressed in these things. So that one I had a rough time with. I There haven't been too many others that I've had that problem with. We just keep laughing because in the you know in what we've watched so far, there've been like 7 or 8 episodes that deal with viruses, with quarantine, with just like disease in general, and we're like, we cannot escape this at all. Like even in our escape, it's right there front and center.
Yeah, that is something. In fact, just off the top of my head, the kids found a movie. I think it was called Pandemic or Quarantine or something, where it's almost like it was released last year, the year before, and it's got
I think it's called Pandemic.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was going on like Vudu or Netflix or something to look for a movie to watch, and I went to the search bar and it showed like the most heavily searched
Yes.
movies, and that was like right at the top, and I just was like, really, everyone, really, is this what we're doing with our time now?
Yeah, we watched that. The kids were like, "Oh, I want to watch it." It's like, and then they're like, is that how it's going to be? Are we going to have to line up for food and for when we get tested?" And I'm like, "Okay, guys, you got to chill. Like,
Yeah.
relax yourselves."
And see, and that's the thing is like, that's why I don't understand why so many people were watching it. Like, why are you going to watch a fictionalized worst case scenario and stress yourself out even more?
Right?
Like,
Like, don't we
you
have
want
enough stresses?
just watch the news if you want to be stressed out. Like, why? Why? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's just me. As I mentioned, I'm trying to stick to lighter things with my escapist media viewing currently,
Yes.
because it's really the only break that I have right now. Like, work is tough. I work, I'm currently working social media for my company. And people can be real mean on the internet, as I'm sure you're aware. So work is terrible and real life is stressful. So like, yeah, I want like cheesy space politics and for my downtime. That's what I choose to do. That's my self-care.
There you go. And if you're watching 6 episodes in a Sunday, you should be starting to burn through some seasons real quick.
Oh yeah, and obviously, as I mentioned, I got the CBS streaming app so I could watch every single. So we're gonna do Next Generation, we're gonna do Deep Space Nine, all the way up through Discovery and Picard. That is our plan. Is we're just gonna watch everything.
I'm going to have you come back after you watch Deep Space Nine so we can talk about it because that is my favorite.
Okay, that one of my really good friends. That's his favorite series as well. So I would be more than happy to talk about that with you.
All right. So what you want to talk about next? Because we got a few choices. So I'll let the anniversary guest pick.
All right. Well, since we're sort of on the topic of happy things that we're escaping into to avoid the stress of our everyday lives, let's talk about Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, the game that I bought a GameCube way back in my college days, which is like what? Let me think here. I was in college
long time ago.
99. I believe I bought it in 99 or 2000. Just for Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I was still in high school.
Yeah, I remember those days. That's how long we've known each other.
It's true. Yeah, I've known you since I was 16.
So crazy. So yeah, I've played almost every version of Animal Crossing since the GameCube. I've only missed one, which was on the Wii U, the City Folk one. But I've played them all, and let me tell you, coming back home and being able to fire up Animal Crossing on the day of release and just dive in and be like, I've got an island and I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely later to the party. As I mentioned, I sort of got into the nerdier stuff later in life.
Nerd.
And I was a broke college student for a long time, so I didn't have a lot of extra money to buy consoles and such. So the way this went about is my husband is a huge gamer. He has been his whole life. He worked in video games for a time. And so when we got together and started dating, video games became a much larger part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he introduced me to The Sims. He got me The Sims for, I think, Christmas a couple years ago. And I quickly became obsessed. And he was like, hey, well, there's this mobile game called Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. And if you like The Sims, I really think you'll like this game. So then I downloaded the mobile game and quickly became obsessed with that as well. I love, like, it was so cute and happy and wonderful. And like, I could, I had my little camper and my campground and I could pick cute outfits and talk to cute animals all day. It was perfect for me. It was like everything I love. So then I hear, Animal Crossing New Horizons is going to be coming out. And I talked to my husband. I was like, hey, so when that game comes out, do you think I could borrow your Switch so that I could play it? And he weighed the situation and was like, I'm just going to buy you your own Switch. So he did. So for my birthday last year, he got me a Switch. So I had it all ready to go when Animal Crossing came out this year. And there has not been a day since it came out that I have not played that game.
Same here. I have played it daily, even if it's only for about like 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, even if it's just like 30 minutes, like it's still good. Like I need my fix.
Yeah, there are times where I just cannot fit it into the day. I also have a major issue with my left Joy-Con. It drifts like crazy. So I'll try to position my character and then it just starts walking to the left. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, no.
And then playing it on the small screen is fine for a little bit, but I really enjoy like having it on the big TV when I can. But then because we only have the one TV. It causes some issues with like who's going to have the TV on at the time. But
Sure.
But let me tell you, because I understand where your husband is coming from, because I initially was like, oh yeah, we can all play on the same island, and I quickly realized because we used to share my 3DS's town, myself and my 3 kids, and let me just say that there has been incidents where there were trees that were chopped down and things that were messed with, and it takes time to fix them. And I weighed it very heavily, and I did tell the kids, I said, you guys are not allowed to play on my island. And I think the saving grace for them, even though it's going to be an issue because of the stuff that's going on, and it's caused an issue with having actual Switches to buy. But my daughter Willow has been a straight A student since kindergarten or whenever they started first having grades.
She lives up to her namesake when it comes to school, for sure.
Yeah, she has never had anything less than an A on a report card. And she asked if she finished 5th grade with all A's, if she could have a Switch. And we said yes. So the problem is finding one at this point. But if she gets a Switch, I did say that you all will have to share an Animal Crossing on the Switch. Like that's going to be the one out for her, is that, or the one sad part is that she'll have to share the Switch with the boys for a little bit at least.
Yeah.
So this is your first Animal Crossing game. What do you like? Because I like Pocket Camp for what it is, but it's no Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah, like it can't compare to like the full game. It is still like, it was a great introduction for me.
Yeah.
But obviously mobile games are mobile games. They're never going to be in the same league. I love it so much. Like it just, I can spend hours playing it. I'm nowhere like I go visit my friends' island, like even you, like I'll go visit your island or some of my other friends' islands, and they're just like insane. They're so cool and intricate. And then I go to my island and I'm like, I got a couple paths and some trees and some flowers. Like I feel sort of ridiculous sometimes when I look at my island compared to other people's. But I'm like, you know what? My island makes me happy, and it doesn't have to be super complex. And like I'm going at my own speed, which is a lot slower than some people. But I'll get there eventually. I spent today, like I finally got into like the custom designs. Like I didn't go anywhere near that for a while because I was like, there's a lot going on here. I need to get used to the rest of this before I jump into that. But the last couple days, so I've got pink brick pathways now because I found a custom design for pink bricks, and I'm obsessed with the color pink. And I've got like custom outfits for all my favorite Disney princesses, like Rapunzel and Elsa and Belle, Merida. So that's been a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, it's playing New Horizons. I can't imagine going back to playing like any of the older versions because this one just has so much freedom. Like it's the first time to put stuff out in like on your land anywhere you want to. First time to be able to move houses or move anything. First time to terraform.
The terraforming, yeah. The terraforming's been pretty awesome.
It has been crazy. Now you say like you came to my island and you're like, oh yeah, look at that. And I'm thinking to myself, I go to other people's islands and they have like everything nice in a row and their paths and they have all this decoration laid out. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I've got like some stuff next to the campground and a few other things. And that's pretty much about it. And I'm letting my weeds grow back because I like the island look.
I did notice you were letting your weeds grow back when I visited you, and it drove me a little crazy. Like I know it's your island and I want you to be happy with your island, but there was a very large part of me that wanted to go pick all those weeds because I was like, the second I see any weed on my island, that sucker is gone. I get them so fast. And actually, one of my favorite like de-stressing things to do is to go to like a Nook Miles island and just pick weeds. Like, I don't know why it is so soothing to me. I love just like running around picking weeds.
One of the things that gets me is when I do the Nook tour, and especially if I end up on a trash island or one of the ones where it's like, oh, it's got the same fruit as me, wonderful, is I get really, and I don't like, I saw some people posting about it too, but I feel bad for like just like digging holes and cutting down their trees and just like leaving the island like a wasteland and being like, okay,
yeah.
peace out. Like, I've taken everything. I've taken all your resources.
I know. Look, I'm not gonna lie. A part of me feels that way too. And it's so funny because it's like it's not real. We're not like actually desolating an island somewhere. It's gonna regenerate the next time someone goes there, but like, and it's the same way with like villagers. I have some friends that are like, yeah, I hate this villager. I'm kicking them out. And I'm like, I could never do that. It's an NPC that's not real and doesn't have feelings. But what if I hurt its feelings by making it leave? These are the thoughts that I have.
I did end up because I was really pushing to just get max villagers. So I accepted everyone that I saw on like when I went to the islands, I accepted them. I was like, okay, yeah, come live with me. But
yeah, I just invited the first people I came across.
Yeah, when they came, I ended up with like a duplicate kangaroos. So I had 2 kangaroos and I had like a horse and a unicorn, which I adore. I adore Julian. He's the unicorn. But like the horse and one of the kangaroo, I was like, okay, you guys got to go. So I got rid of one of the kangaroos and brought in one of my favorite original like Animal Crossing people from way back in the GameCube. He showed up. I was like, oh yes, this is perfect. I've been trying to get rid of the second horse, and I was really sad yesterday because one of my favorite dogs showed up, and I was like, no, I don't have room for you.
I don't have room.
Oh, it's so sad.
So obviously, like, there's certain personality traits that all the residents cycle through. I think I have 9 residents on my island right now. Of the 9 residents, 3 of them are all obsessed with working out.
Oh, the jocks, yeah.
Yeah, I have a lion, I have a tiger, and I have a koala. And one of my residents, she was like an anteater that was like a pop star.
Yeah, diva type, yeah.
Yeah, she decided she wanted to move out, so I was like, okay, it's her choice. I'm not hurting her feelings.
You can
she's
say
like,
no.
So I was like, okay, you can go, you can move out. And so then I went to an island, and the first one I came across was this koala. And I talked to him, and I quickly realized he was the jock type. And I was like, no, I already have 2 of them. I really shouldn't like invite a third one to the island. And so I started walking away from him. And then I was like, but he's a koala. So then I invited him anyway, even though like I did not want a third resident who was obsessed with working out all the time. But he's a really adorable green koala. And so I guess that makes up for it.
Do you have a favorite of your villagers so far? Like one where you're like, I love them.
100%. And it's Zucker, the little octopus who talks to bugs. And I send him mail, and whenever he sends me notes back, there's always like adorable typos and stuff in it. Like I love him so much. And I posted a video on my Facebook the other day. I'm fairly certain you saw it, but it's one of the guys from Pentatonics did an Animal Crossing song. And one of the lyrics was, my best friend is an octopus. And it showed Zucker in the little music video that he created. And I was like, yes, more love for Zucker. I think he's the best. But I would love a unicorn.
Yeah, Julian is the only unicorn because I looked up like who was in the game, and Julian's the only unicorn. I was like, I am blessed to have Julian.
You
And
are.
if people go to Julian's house, it is phenomenal on the inside. I'm like, wow, that's really great.
Okay, so the next time I visit, you're going to have to lead me to where Julian's house is so that I can check it out.
Yes, and hopefully he's not wandering around because then you can't see it. Boo.
Yes. I do also have, I have forgotten her name at the moment, but she's an elephant, and she always calls me Teacup, and she's adorable too.
Tia.
Yes.
The one that looks like a teacup, yeah.
Yes, yeah, she's got like the pattern on her. And yeah, I really like her as well.
Oh my goodness, she was my, let's see here, was she a camper? Because I started off with Mira, who's like a superhero rabbit, and Hamlet, which is a hamster. And then I just kept getting, but Tia's the one that has grown on me. I love her. She's so sweet.
She is, and I love her house. Like, it's very like cutesy cottage chic, and I just like going to visit her house because I think it's really cute.
I just wish like I could help them, because sometimes you give them stuff and they'll display it, and other times they won't, and it's like they're like, I've given them, like, I feel bad when I give them like stink bugs and then they keep it and display it. I'm like, no,
I know.
like, let's maybe can you swap it out for something better that I can give you?
Yeah, one of my residents had a birthday, and I'd forgotten about it. So when I went to go visit her, they were like having a little birthday party. And it was like hinting that I should give her a gift, but I didn't have anything except for like some butterflies that I had just got. So I gave her a butterfly, and like now every time I go visit her house, she's got this butterfly on her counter, and I'm like, I really wish I had gotten you a better birthday present than some bug I caught outside your house.
Yep. I many of my people have like the common butterfly or the yellow butterfly.
Yeah, it was like just a yellow butterfly. It's not even one of the cool looking ones.
Yeah, I try to keep like some fruit or some seashells on hand just in case. And it's like, here, have this. Here, have this. And it's like, okay, until I can give you some better stuff.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things, because this is the first time, with it being on the Nintendo Switch and being in like this social media like interconnectivity almost, because it's been a while since like New Leaf came out, and the amount of like awesome positivity in the different communities is incredible. Like, I saw somebody post today, because today was Sunday when we're recording this. I bought my turnips today. Somebody had their island ahead of time and was like, I'm selling for $4.83. And so I was like, well, I just bought turnips, let me come and sell. And they sent their dodo code and let me sell. It's like, well, I'm done, I'm out. But it's so awesome, like the people that are doing all the custom creations and posting them on the internet, and just like, just positivity.
On the other side of that, though, and we talked about this a little bit recently too, is the people who are outside who just want to like crap on it. Like, they just want to talk about how dumb it is and how everyone's wasting their time. It's like, look, man, just let us have fun. Like, who cares if you don't like it? We do. So why you gotta throw negativity at us? So
Exactly.
yeah, I love the positivity of the people in the community. I'm in like 4 different Discord groups that are all like Animal Crossing themed, and it's a really great community. And I love each and every person that's been a part of it. But yeah, the people who can't just let us have nice things, they can go sit in a corner.
They can kick rocks.
Yes, I was trying to think of something to say that wouldn't be swearing.
Well, I'm happy that you're into Animal Crossing, because I know, I mean, like, there are games that I would love to play, and I just end up watching people play them on Twitch because I'm watching them and not having to play the game and do it because I just can't play certain games. But Animal Crossing, gotta play it.
Yeah, it's a good one, and it's something that like anyone can play. So any level, any skill, you can just have fun.
I guess
Okay.
I'll take it in the next direction here, which is
All
about
right.
a show that just wrapped up after 5 seasons, right?
Yeah.
5 seasons?
6 seasons.
6 seasons. Okay, 6 seasons, no movie. Um, and I will say that I didn't get into the show until my wife Michelle was like, "Oh, I heard good things about it. Let's watch it." And I think it was on Netflix. So I was like,
Yes.
"Okay, sure, I got time." And we always try to have a TV show to watch and do stuff together with while we're got downtime. And that show was Schitt's Creek. And holy cow, what an incredible series. I think there's a lot of transformation and change from the first episode to the last episode, which it just finished. As of when this episode releases, it'll be like about 3 months having been done. It might even be on Netflix by that point. But
Could be.
I fell in love with that show so much.
Just immediately. Yeah. I had several friends who I trusted because we have the same taste in media, who were talking about it all the time. There's like Schitt's Creek, Schitt's Creek. And I was like, that is the dumbest name. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is part of the reason why it took me so long to watch it. Cause I was like, that is the dumbest freaking name for a show. And then I was homesick from work one day and I was just like laying on the couch and I felt terrible. Um, and I wanted something to watch that would make me feel better. So I was scrolling through and that popped up and I was like, okay, like all my friends love this show. I'm going to give it a couple episodes and see what I think. And so I put on the first episode and just immediately fell in love with it. The way I like to, and I've since gotten several people hooked on it, but the way I like to describe it is it's like if the characters in Arrested Development actually grew and became nice people. Because like it's a somewhat similar premise. Like there's this really rich family that loses all of their money, but whereas everyone in Arrested Development pretty much stays awful throughout the entire course of the series, the Rose family really learns from the situation and grows and adapts, and you learn to love them so much. We are currently, well, we've stopped at the moment because we've become full on obsessed with Star Trek. But prior to that, my husband and I were watching the show I had gone through and I've watched the whole series beginning to end, but he hadn't watched it and I kept pestering him to watch it. So he was finally like, okay, we'll sit down and we'll watch this. So we'd been watching it from the beginning, and it's funny to like knowing where the characters end up and then going back to the beginning and seeing where they started. Cause like Alexis was pretty terrible at the beginning of the show. And I'm watching that going, oh God, but she became one of my favorite characters by the end. I loved, as she would say, I love that journey for me. She had a really amazing arc. And I love where she ended up. You've seen the finale, yes?
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna like accidentally spoil anything for you, but like where she ended up with going back to school and owning her own business and like being secure enough to like go out on her own. And the way her relationship with Ted ended, I thought was heartbreaking for me because I actually really loved them together.
Mm-hmm.
But it showed how much she grew as a person, that I think she really recognized that while they were in love with each other, things just weren't right in their lives and they couldn't be together. That was really hard for me, but I was like, oh, I'm so proud of you.
It's something where I still can't believe that, it's Eugene Levy, who I absolutely adore. I've loved him from like American Pie and Best in Show. And it's like that core group of those three, because it's like Maureen O'Hara and I can't whoever plays Roland Schitt. I don't have his name on the top of my head. Those
I
three
don't remember.
they've been in so many things together, and they just
Yeah.
work well together. And then with Dan Levy, the son, writing it, and like that's his thing, and then having like his sister in it as
Sarah.
Twyla, and
Mhm.
and then like I fell in love with Stevie. Like Stevie was
Yes.
always that
Oh,
character
I
where I'm
love
like,
Stevie.
it's just like that's the like I connect with that character. I love Stevie, and I love Twyla too. And it's just I love those characters where they're, they live in this small town. They own that they live in the small town. They live in Schitt's Creek, but they are relatively happy. I mean, Stevie goes through her journey as well, but it's just so good. Like it's all just relationships and building their relationships and growing, and sometimes it's slow and sometimes it's hard, and you're like, oh gosh, why? And I still don't know how the Rose Apothecary stays in business sometimes because
There's no one ever in there. It's sort of like Bob's Burgers. Like you're never quite sure how they stay in business because there's no one in the store ever. But I'm just gonna, believe that we just happen to catch them in down moments, and they're super busy the rest of the time that we're not there.
that the thing that springs to mind is like they're supplying like other places with product, and
Yeah.
that's cool. Like and that's in my head because they brought it up like at the end with what they were going to do. Not going to spoil it, but they had like their business plan of what they were going to get out of it and do things. And but man, that show just it feels like it came out of nowhere.
It did.
And
It absolutely came out of nowhere. It was just like this little show out of Canada, and all of a sudden, like, it's all anyone was talking about. And I keep recommending it to everybody I know. Like, it's one of those shows that I want everybody to see because I think there's something in it for everybody.
absolutely. And I like how, especially with David's character, I liked how David was just himself, whether it was he went one way or the other way, fashion choices, lifestyle, like everything was perfect. Like he's he's just who he is, and be damned if you don't like it.
Yeah. And there was something that actually did not really click with me until I watched the documentary that aired after the season finale or the series finale. Which, have you watched that yet?
I have not watched it, but you're good to spoil, so go.
Okay.
Go for
Well,
it.
it's not really a spoiler because it's something that happened throughout the series. It just never clicked for me. That Dan Levy, when he was writing this show, like homophobia doesn't exist in the show. Like he specifically made a world where homophobia is not a thing. And like for as outrageous and flamboyant as David can be, like it was never played as a joke. He was never made to feel bad for it. Like everyone accepted him for that.
Right.
And I like it was wonderful to watch, and like obviously I loved it, but it never clicked for me that like there was no negative repercussions for this at any point during the show. And I realized that was like a specific choice that they made. And when I realized that, they were sitting at a table reading a letter to Dan that was written by like a Facebook group of moms of LGBTQ children. And I was just like on the floor sobbing. And everybody that was like at the table listening to this letter being read was also sobbing. It was just like a really touching, wonderful moment. And I love that he decided to create that world because why not? Like we could all use a little bit more kindness. And I just really loved that.
Absolutely. It's just the family dynamic is one where you start off and it's just you don't know how they even functioned because they didn't.
No.
They weren't even around each other. Now they're forced to live in basically a 2-room motel, or 2 rooms in the motel, and You know, like I always think about like, oh, what would happen if I lost my house and how would we like survive as three kids and two adults, and my kids would drive me bananas, but uh living in that condition, I don't know if I could have survived.
Yeah. I imagine if I found myself in that situation, it wouldn't be nearly as funny as Schitt's Creek. I would not handle it with near the amount of grace that they did.
Did you have any favorite? Because with Schitt's Creek, it's such an ensemble of
Yeah.
like the core cast, but they have such a wider like uh I don't want to say like background characters, but they have like
Secondary
the
characters,
secondary characters. Did you have any favorites in that bunch?
definitely Patrick. I don't know if he would be considered main cast or secondary cast, but I from the friggin' second he showed up, I loved Patrick so much. Ronnie,
Yes,
I
Ronnie.
love Ronnie. Every time she opened her mouth, I'm just like, yes, girl, I love you. Um, Twyla, I definitely love Twyla. I love how like sweet and happy Twyla is, even though she has all of these terrible things in her history. Um, and they actually mentioned in that documentary, like originally Twyla was supposed to be just kind of like sad. And they were like, no, let's actually change that and like make her really happy, like genuinely kind, optimistic person, even though all this awful stuff has happened to her. Um, and I loved the twist ending they gave her in the finale as well.
Oh
Like
my
that made me
goodness.
so happy for her. I was like, yes, okay, I can get behind this.
Yeah, that blew me away. I was like, what?
I know,
What do you mean?
I did not see that coming at all. um, and then I am suddenly blanking on her name, but the mayor's wife.
Yeah, I'm blanking on her name too. It was there, Roland and somebody. The all the Jazzy
Jocelyn,
gals.
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, yes.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much all of the Jazzy gals. Love them. What about you?
Oh well, I love Ronnie. Like Ronnie
Yes.
is the epitome of she's there, but she's got something to say, and it just makes like it just clicks. Like it's that any of the town council meetings that they had with Bob was just ridiculous at times. Like
Yeah,
that run walk that he did, and it's like
yes.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I mean that was the perfect description of it. It's like he's like jogging but walking. It's so weird. Yeah, Bob was funny, but he was also like, if I had to deal with you in real life, I'm pretty sure I would strangle you kind of characters.
Yeah, and I love, I love how Moira got like the movie, which that trailer
Yes.
still cracks me up.
So good.
But if you are listening to us talk about Shit's, if you're listening to us talk about Shit's Creek and you want to find it, like check your on demand for Pop TV or go onto Netflix and it'll be there. And
Yeah, it is worth your time. I promise. It is so good.
it,
I've not recommended it to a single person that didn't come back and say, "Thank you so much for telling me to watch this show. It's my new favorite show."
I do have to say there are episodes that end just like, and it feels like it just ends abruptly. I'm like, what? Like, can you give me another minute or two? Like what are you doing to me? That you can't end just like that abrupt. Like, no, give me more. Give me a little bit of closure on the episodes, but so good. Like is something where we knew when it came on like Tuesday nights when we started watching it on air, and we would try and wait patiently, sometimes not patiently, for on demand to catch up and have it ready. And it's like, okay, our show's on, let's watch it.
Yes. Yeah, I was definitely the same way as Liz. I only watched the final season live. Prior to that, I had been waiting for the new seasons to drop on Netflix so that I could binge all of them at once. But the final season, I was afraid I was going to get spoiled. So
Yeah.
that one I actually took the time to like watch live. And it was totally worth it. And it was such a good final season. Like I love when shows can end on their own terms and like they knew that this is where they wanted to end, like they had everything mapped out, and it was such a satisfying ending because of that. And speaking personally as someone who has had her share of disappointing finales to shows that I once loved within the last year, it was between this and the Good Place. It was nice to have like some solid endings to some TV shows.
Yes, yes. I have to agree. Like, Good Place made me cry. Like, it's just, I couldn't believe it. And then, like, Schitt's Creek it just hit me. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening. And things were just paying off finally. It's like, okay, we're good.
And yeah, and that's really it. Like it felt like a payoff. Like we had watched these characters grow over 6 seasons, and so to finally like see them get these happy endings and get what they've been working for was so gratifying to watch.
Absolutely. Now we're going to wrap up talking about a show. We've actually talked about it previously on a specific anniversary episode of I believe it's the 10th anniversary that we did.
Yes.
Might have been 15th. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was 10th.
It should be 10th. Let me double check real quick. Yes, Leverage 10th anniversary. Yeah, so we talked previously back in almost like a year and a half ago about the 10th anniversary of a TV show that aired on TNT called Leverage. And
my favorite show.
Shock upon shock.
The
announcement was made that it is coming back. And from what I have seen and read, a lot of it is to do with the people that have streamed it and purchased it on Amazon or on different platforms to really push for it to come back. That
is so amazing to hear because Leverage is honest to God. I say a lot of shows are my favorite, but like Leverage is actually my favorite show of all time. I have watched the whole series through so many times. As with Schitt's Creek, I recommend it to everyone. I have 2 coworkers who are actually in the middle of watching it right now. And I'm just like, every day I'm like, okay, which episode are you on now? Let's talk about the characters. Let's talk about this. I'm sure I'm driving them crazy. But yeah. And I was just, I was kind of taken aback because I found out about it from you. You tagged me in a article on Facebook, and I just kind of sat there for a second, and I was like, "What? Is this a joke? Like, is this really happening?" And I was a little caught off guard at first because they're calling it a reboot, which I immediately sort of recoiled from a bit because I was like, don't reboot my favorite show. Like, no, it's perfect. But then I actually read it and was like, no, it's 4 of the 5 main cast members and it's Dean Devlin. And so then I was like, okay, now I could get on board with this because it feels more like an extension of the show rather than like a reboot. I don't know why they were calling it a reboot. I don't know. Anyway, I don't like the word reboot, but I'm really excited the show is coming back.
I am too. I know that I had the pleasure, which it's still mind blowing.
Yes.
Of talking with Dean Devlin and Christian Kane, and I had mentioned it because you and Dee, who also you both do the Long Con podcast, is a Leverage podcast for a long time, and now you're doing other stuff, and I imagine you may be taking Leverage up again once it starts coming out again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was one of the questions, was talking about Leverage and the cast, and if there's going to be something like a movie or a reunion episode, because that's the new thing is doing like a couple episodes of a show that's coming back. And Dean Devlin was like, oh yeah, you'll Leverage fans will be happy to hear about something real soon. And on top of that, Christian Kane was like, yeah, we all went out to dinner the other couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? And I don't know how I happened to catch it that quickly. Besides following, because I followed like Dean Devlin's like pages and his work pages, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the announcement. I can't
Yeah.
believe it.
It was, yeah. And the article that you tagged me in, it mentioned that like Dean was really excited about where he can. So, for anyone that isn't aware as of yet, hopefully you'll be aware by the time this comes out because it'll be old news by then. But so 4 of the 5 main cast members are coming back. We've got Christian Kane coming back as Elliot. We've got Gina Bellman coming back as Sophie Devereaux. Aldous Hodge coming back as Hardison, and Beth Reese Graff coming back as Parker. And they will be joined by new cast member Noah Wiley, who worked with Christian and Dean on The Librarians.
Yep.
And so a lot of the original series was driven by Nate's character, by his need to get revenge for his son's death, for his alcoholism. Like he very much drove the narrative. And in the article, Dean was talking about how he's really excited to tackle these stories without having to do that. And how he's really excited to see where these characters can go without like Nate's need for revenge. And I am too, because yeah, I think it'll be really fun and interesting to see what these 4 characters do without his influence. Because they're the 4 criminals. Like he was the mastermind, but he was the good guy, air quotes.
Yes, I saw those air quotes, even though we are not on webcam.
Yeah, we're not on camera, but you could just feel them. So Nate was the good guy, but so we've just got the criminals now, and I'm really excited to see where they go with this. I'm just like so jazzed about this whole thing. Like it's going to be so much fun, and hopefully it'll present an opportunity for new people to find the show and learn to love it as much as I do, as we both do.
Absolutely. I know that with Noah Wiley, what was announced is that he does have a year contract with them.
Okay.
So he's going to be in it for at least the first season. And I did read that Aldous Hodge is just going to be making like guest appearances because he's also filming another show.
He's a movie. Oh, was he doing a TV show? I thought he'd been
either
doing
a TV show or a movie. There is some conflict between whatever he's doing at the same time that they're planning to film.
Okay, yeah, I know he's been in more and more movies.
Yes,
recently, which awesome for him. Super proud of him. I have not yet seen the horror movie that just came out with him and Elizabeth Moss, but I'm super excited to watch that one because I love horror movies and I love him.
Yeah,
I know you don't do horror.
We do it during the daytime.
there was like a Hallmarky romance movie on Netflix that I had suggested for you and your wife, but it had a ghost and you were like, that was scary. And I was like, what? Do you remember that?
I don't remember saying it was scary, but maybe
you did.
You
did. You were like, it freaked us out.
Oh gosh, I did suggest to my wife, going off leverage topic for a second, that Parasite was now on Hulu, and I was like, I want to watch that because it won. And
you should.
It's like a horror movie, I think. And
no, it's not a horror.
Okay.
There's some creepy moments. I would classify it as black comedy more than horror. It's very, very dark humor. There's a without spoiling it, there are a few violent moments. And there's some creepy tension, but it's definitely not a horror movie. It is a dark comedy commentating on like classism.
Gotcha.
So, but very good, and you should absolutely watch it. It was a fantastic movie. Josh and I both loved it.
So, with going back to leverage, so
yes.
with leverage, what are you hoping for? Because I know, they got the reboot tag, but they're gonna play and Dean Devlin did say, like, we're gonna play in that Leverage universe, because there's a lot of stuff going on that, they did with the original series. What are you hoping for, as far as, like, especially with the returning cast, like Sophie and Elliot and Hardison and Parker? Like, what are you hoping for them to see in this new show?
I'm excited to see their dynamic again, because one of the things that I love most about Leverage is the found family aspect. I am a sucker for the found family trope in any media form. And so I loved the family that they created, and I'm really excited to see how that has changed as they've gotten older and had more experiences that we're not having seen yet. And honestly, I'm just like super excited to get back to some heists, man.
Yeah, I'm ready
I
for
love
things to get stolen.
I love the clever way that those episodes would play out and would be put together, and the twist at the end and the big reveal and the gloat. I'm ready for some gloating, David.
I am excited. I really hope that a number of, like, the recurring cast that showed up on occasion, Will Wheaton would be nice to see again.
Yes. Chaos and the FBI agents. I'm blanking on their names.
Oh gosh, yes.
Crap. I feel like such a bad fan right now. What are their names?
McSweeten and Taggart.
Taggart and McSweeten. Yes.
Yeah. We got it.
Yes. I would love to see them come back. Sadly, we won't get a chance to see our favorite Detective Bonanno come back, as the actor unfortunately passed away fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I would have loved to see him come back, because I loved whenever Bonanno showed up.
Do you think, because the lack of Nate, do you think we will not see Sterling show up?
That is a very good question. I hope we do, because Mark Shepard is a wonderful human being and is no longer on Supernatural, so he should have the time. He was on Supernatural for so long, but that has ended. I would, and he was just such a, like, he was one of those bad guys that you just love, like, even though the team hated him. There was such a great rivalry there, and the episodes with him all stand out very clear in my mind, because he was such a good adversary for them. So I do hope we get a chance to see him again, even if it's just like once or briefly. I want to know what he's up to.
Yeah, what is he up to? Because he just kept getting promoted and up higher, and
right, like he's got to be the director of something by now.
Yeah, that would be something, just to see him and be like, oh, well, now you're behind the desk and you can't do anything about us, but my hired goons can.
Yes. What about you? Anything in particular that you're hoping to see from the series?
I really hope that they keep, they left Leverage with, like, Hardison, Parker, and Elliot kind of being like their own.
They're the new team. Yeah.
They're
like
the new team.
Yeah.
And I hope that they keep that in a way, or they show, like, maybe they did it, but then, like, they just ran into something and something went wrong, and now, like, no,
like something, something bigger has come along that sort of, and they need help.
Yes, like, because I don't want it to be where it's like, oh, look, here's Parker and Hardison and Elliot 2.0, where everything that they've done that I remember is no longer, like, in existence, and it's like restarting that way. Like, I really just want.
Yeah, no, they had a really solid ending for those three. I was really happy for them, and I was excited for the good they would be able to do following the finale. So yeah, I agree with you. I hope they don't walk that back. And I also trust Dean Devlin and, like Christian Kane. I don't think Christian would let anything happen to like Sully Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like just listening to him chat with you on the interview you had with him, which I'm still blown away about, by the way. You can tell how much that character means to him and how much of himself he put into it. So I feel like he would really go down swinging if he felt like they were trying to take that character in a direction that he didn't agree with.
And he would literally go down swinging because,
yeah,
as he said, he does all of his own
all his own stunts. Yes,
which again blows me away that he does that. Like that, I still can't. Like, I'm thinking back to all the things that he did in Leverage.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, are you serious? Like everything, and blows me away. But yeah, I want some really great stories, and especially now with the age that we're in, because Leverage was 10 years ago. The advancements in technology is way further beyond now than what they were dealing with. Just to see like what they get away with, or what they now have to come up with, and who they're coming up against.
Yeah, like even bigger and better bad guys for them to take on. I feel like
it's going to be something. I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Yes.
I don't know when they're going to start filming, but
yeah, no news so far as like when filming or when this can be released yet. But rest assured, I will be watching the internet for a hawk, like a hawk for any information.
Yes, like a hawk, not a for hawk. like a mongoose.
It's late.
It is late, although
words are hard.
Words are hard. All right, so we talked about a good number of fandoms. I just kind of want to go over, if this is the first time that you're listening to Jachelle, I want to kind of just run through some episodes that she has been on. I believe you are the number one most returned person.
Yes, I think with this episode, I've officially beat Dee out as the most returning guest.
I believe so.
I think she and I were tied for a little bit, but this might put me over the edge.
I think it does. We had episode 1, so that's 4 years ago as of this release.
Yes.
On June 6th. Then you and Dee came back for a Ghostbusters special about the new Ghostbusters series. You came back for a 1-year anniversary special. We did our Harry Potter 20th anniversary special.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
We did 4 episodes talking about Kevin Hearn's The Iron Druid Chronicles, going from a novella that started it off, and then the first 3 books in the series. And maybe at some point we'll get back to those, but dang, reading is hard at times.
It is hard, especially, when we have so much other stuff going on. But I would love to get back to discussing those books now that the series is finished.
That's right. And we did the Leverage 10th anniversary special.
Yes.
So all in all, you have had 9 episodes on the podcast, and this will be number 10.
All right.
So I'm pretty sure you got it held down. I'm checking right now just to see here. See if anyone else is competing with you, but I'm pretty sure even with my newest returning guests, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Dee only has 5. So you got double that.
Double. I'm gonna rub that in her face later.
Yeah, do it. But I will have all the links to those episodes in our show notes and on the page, website and Facebook page. So that way, if you're interested in checking out some of those episodes with Jachelle, you can check them out. You got anything you want to share for the people listening, if they want to find you anywhere or maybe check out what you're doing?
Sure. I don't have a huge online presence like a lot of your guests. If you feel so inclined, you can follow me on Instagram and look at pictures of my cat because that's pretty much all I post. Um, but I am Sugar Shocking on Instagram. And then also, if you are not totally bored by listening to me ramble in this episode, my best friend Dee and I do a podcast where we discuss random media that we like. We did an episode by episode recap of final season of The Good Place. We did a 3-part series on Veronica Mars. We've discussed a few movies from Frozen to Knives Out to Birds of Prey. And we've discussed a few TV shows, Mandalorian, things like that. So yeah, we just talk and ramble and throw out weird theories. So if you like that stuff, please check us out. We are on Apple Podcast. We are still working on getting on Spotify. So, but that is the Long Con podcast. And we will definitely be discussing Leverage when that comes out.
Awesome. And I'll have the link to that in the show notes as well. And I just want to say, 4 years ago, things have changed so much in 4 years, not only with fandom stuff, but you got married in that 4-year time period. I mean, it is bonkaroos. You change jobs, everything. Things just keep on changing.
Yeah, I was single and miserable at a job that I did not like, and now I am married. And actually, despite what I said earlier, I do really love my job. So it's just hard right now because people are mean.
People are mean. So if you're listening to this, be nice to everybody, and especially those on social media, because remember that there's a person behind the name, unless they're just total bots or douche people.
Just be nice. Be nice to customer service, please.
Yes.
Just be kind.
All right. Well, Jachelle, I want to say thank you for coming back to celebrate 4 years of this podcast, and I am excited to have you back in the future.
Absolutely. As many times as you want. I'm here.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.